Hello from Tel Aviv. You're on Israel Update. I'm Gadi Taub, and with me, as usual, is my co-host, Mike Doran in Washington. Hi, Mike.
Hello, Gadi.
Last time I spoke about Menachem Kalmanzon and his brother, who were the heroes, who went to Be'eri, and you remember that after the recording, one of their nephews also died in battle in North Gaza. So today I went to their settlement, which is in the south of Judea, for the Shiva, to give my condolences, and the whole family was there, and I learned the story of the nuclear family. It's a big family, a lot of uncles and cousins and the rest, but the nuclear family that Pedaya, the guy Pedaya Mark, the guy who just died, belonged to, and then I heard this story. The father was killed in a terror attack, and the mother was badly wounded. She got a bullet through her eye.
This is a previous terror attack.
Yeah, a previous terror attack. Then also previously, her older son died in combat, and now she lost her younger son. So that's tragedy all around. And another son was sitting there with his officers' regalia, also speaking to visitors. And I sat near this woman for a while. I also met Menachem Benny Kalmanzon, the father, who I quoted in the eulogy, and all that. And I sat near this woman, and this woman, who's been through such tragedy, carries herself with dignity. And you know what she asked me? What's on her mind now? She asked me, do you think we'll be able to heal the rifts in our society? Wow. So, it was a moment, because if I read the subtext correctly, what she meant is, can I be sure that the thing, that society, the country that my son died for is not falling apart? Can I be sure that it was not in vain? I thought she was asking. I'm putting words in her mouth. It's not what she said. And I told her, I think the basis for the rifts have basically disappeared, because the major rift in Israeli society was over the two-state solution, over separation from the Palestinians, over settlements, over partition, the two-state solution, and all that. And all the rest, including reform and everything else, somehow revolved around that. And now that disappeared. So I think I had good news for her, and I think this is good news also for the country at large. So we'll be talking about the war. We'll have an update about the state of the war right now. We'll talk about Secretary of State Blinken's visit to Israel and the Israeli responses. We'll talk about Nasrallah's winding speech, and also we have a conversation with Benjamin Netanyahu's brother, Dr. Iddo Netanyahu, who's also a playwright, a physician and a playwright. But first, Mike, over to you for the headlines.
Sure, Gadi. Before I give you the headlines, let me just add one more point to what you just said about the unity in Israeli society. I have a friend who's very, very left-wing, and I talk to him relatively frequently. And my last conversation with him, I was talking about these protesters who are still calling for Netanyahu to resign and blaming him for all the deaths. And I said, listen, I don't want to get in a big argument with you about this, but I just want to say one thing, and that's that watching these people at this moment when this war is going on and there are soldiers who are dying in battles, watching them continue to pursue this obsession, it really makes me sick, and I wish they would stop until the war is over. And he said, I'm going to surprise you. I agree with you. And I was really stunned, because I thought this was going to open up a big fight, and given all of our previous fights about it, but no.
So here's my 2 cents about it. You know what happened to them? The Arab media is celebrating this, and Hamas broadcast live on social media, their demonstration, and that cost them a lot the next morning in Israel. Because people said you are just helping Hamas.
I saw Amit Segal said that. He said to Dan Halutz, here's a
former
tip.
chief of staff, yeah.
Yeah, former chief of staff who was at last night, Saturday night, was at one of those rallies, and he said, here's a tip for you. When Hamas celebrates what you're doing, maybe it's the wrong thing.
Maybe
All right,
it's the wrong thing to do.
Let's go to a news bulletin very quickly. 5 major items. The Gaza ground operation is continuing. The IDF has gone deeper into the Gaza Strip, and the IDF announced that 2,500 targets in Gaza have been hit since the beginning of the operation. Number 2, there's the IDF has been trying, and perhaps today succeeded, to open a humanitarian corridor from the north to the south in Gaza. They tried yesterday, Saturday, and Hamas fired on them. Hamas doesn't want civilians to go south from the north. Meanwhile, this is item number 3. The U.S. is pushing Israel for a humanitarian pause. They're calling it. They don't want to say ceasefire, and they're getting a lot of pushback from the prime minister, and I think probably from average Israelis. Number 4, Prime Minister Netanyahu reacted to the statement by Heritage Minister Amichai Eliyahu, who said that Israel might drop an atomic bomb on Gaza. The prime minister said,
that's usually the job of heritage ministers.
Yeah,
they're in charge of atomic nuclear weapons.
The prime minister said that Eliyahu's remarks were out of touch with reality, and he is not allowing him into ministerial meetings. Finally, the defense minister Yoav Gallant said yesterday, Saturday, that we're going to get Yahya Sinwar, that's the head of Hamas in Gaza. And he said, I say here and now to the residents of Gaza, if you get there before us, that will shorten the war. So Gazans, kill Sinwar, and this will shorten everything for you. Back to you, Gadi.
All right, we have a short update of what's going on the ground. And once again, let me pull up the map. This is, I think, from a Turkish origin. Of course, I took it from Abu Ali Express. Our guy, the guy
that's from Levent Kamal. He's the Turkish correspondent for Middle East Eye.
I don't compete with you in matters Turkish, Mike. And anyway, this according to some sources, this is reliable. So what you see here is the purple is the IDF controlled area. So we have they've cut the Gaza Strip along the they call it 10th Street. It's the Netzarim Junction across from east all the way to the beach, and in the north. And these yellow areas are where battles are still raging. This is Gaza City. And now the IDF has, as Mike said in the headlines, opened a humanitarian corridor. This is it for people to escape. Of course, the Gazans, the Hamas does not want them to escape. To the south, they gave them limited hour, and some people apparently were shot trying to escape. So Hamas is very adamant about trying to leave the human shields in the way of the IDF attack. Mike, how do you assess the progress of the ground operation?
Well, they're having face-to-face battles now. The feeling you've got. The feeling you've got is that the hardest part awaits, because the Hamas fighters are underground in the tunnels, and they are looking forward to the fight, the street-to-street fights with the Israelis. The whole question is, have the Israelis developed these mechanisms for getting into the tunnels and blowing them up, killing the Hamas fighters in the tunnels before they can come out of the tunnels and take the battle to the Israelis? We're going to find out. They keep telling us it's going to be a slow war, I'm concerned because this pressure is mounting for the humanitarian ceasefire. I'm sure once a humanitarian ceasefire is put into place, there's going to be pressure to prolong it and prolong it and prolong it and turn it into a permanent ceasefire before Israel ever really roots out all Hamas from all of the tunnels.
I've had a small practical idea, but I don't know who to sell it to. I thought if there was just a way to divert Gaza sewers into the tunnels, then we solve all the problems at once.
This is a serious idea. Of course, they want to pump seawater in there as well. But I'm told by people who know that these tunnel systems are highly sophisticated, and they have drainage systems, so that this can't be done easily. I know you were joking. I know you were joking.
No. Actually, it was not a joke. I thought because seawater needs to be brought up from the sea, and obviously land is higher from the sea. So the idea that you can just open some faucet and the seawater will pour in is obviously not practical, but it's doable. But I also thought that, like submarines, they would have doors separating tunnels into quarters, so you probably can't just do the whole thing. And of course, nobody uses illegal weapons like gas.
This is these tunnels are the product, I think, of North Korean. The North Koreans are masters at tunnels, and they taught the Iranians and the Hamas organization and Hezbollah how to do this.
Our next item is Blinken's visit, and it looked very ominous when the statements he gave before he boarded the plane sounded like he was going to bend Israel's hand, force a pause, not a ceasefire, he says, but a pause, and also had qualms about moving populations. So it looked like he came, and especially the issue of gas, petroleum, solar. How do you say solar, Mike? The kind of
diesel, no?
Diesel fuel, which operates the whole tunnel system. And first there was an announcement by the chief of staff of the IDF that they will allow diesel necessary to the hospitals, which is of course a sham, because under the hospitals are their main command centers. So anything that you pump into a hospital goes straight into the tunnels, and they use it. And you see they keep complaining there's no electricity. All footage from the hospitals, electricity is full there. So obviously we were very worried when a group of us was very worried when the chief of staff said that. But then the prime minister and his minister of defense both were adamant and said no diesel fuel. So
the Blinken then came away and made a public statement that there can't be a pause right now, which was interesting. And the question is, what happened? Did Prime Minister Netanyahu change his mind, or I have a theory, can't prove this. I think that they're hearing different things from the Arab countries, from the UAE, from Saudi Arabia, possibly even from the Qataris. I'm not sure about that. But when I was in the White House in 2006 during the Second Lebanon War, one of the things that was very interesting was the effect that the Saudis had on the Europeans, for example, who immediately came in and wanted to shut down the war, shut down the Israelis. And the Saudis told them, hey, slow down, slow behind the scenes. I can't believe that people in Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and other Arab countries are watching this and thinking, gosh, I really hope that the Israelis don't destroy Hamas. They understand if Hamas stays alive, it's a victory for Iran. It's a defeat for the American alliance system. It's a defeat for them. They understand this. They're not in a position to go out and say it publicly, but they can tell that to Blinken behind the scenes.
Interesting. Blinken also visited Mahmoud Abbas in the Palestinian Authority when he was here the first time around, and he's still promoting the two-state solution. So the idea now is that America supports supports us in the destruction of Hamas. And then after that, what will replace Hamas is the Fatah, the Palestinian Authority, which rules Judea and Samaria, will come into the vacuum and also rule Gaza. And there you have it. There is a unified authority with which you can move to a deal. Anyone living in Israel, Mike, thinks that this is a crazy delusion. Nobody will support it here.
When you say nobody, is that really nobody? What about the Kaplan crowd, all the protesters who are who've been calling for Netanyahu's resignation? I mean, even them. Yeah.
I think so. There'll be a radical left margin, but I'll tell you what's going to happen with them. They'll be swallowed in the one-state solution. Those who don't want a Jewish state, who want what we call a non-national state of all its citizens, who want the state of Israel de-Judaized, if that's a word, they will remain on the radical left, and they will subsume the two states. Because the thing is that the Kaplan crowd are it's the leftist upper progressive middle class. These people live in Tel Aviv. I'll show you a short clip shortly about what the Palestinian Authority is doing. Everyone in Israel understands that the Palestinian Authority is just another version of the same evil, which Israelis now habitually refer to as Nazis. So these are the Hamas Nazis, and these are the Fatah Nazis, and people who vote Meretz, or the progressive left-wing party, or Labor, the Social Democratic Party, which is also on the left. They have shrunk for many years now. And now these people, these middle-class people, will they be willing to live near the border of a new Hamastan? Will the people of Kfar Saba, this is like 5 minutes away from the territories, will they be willing to raise their families under this shadow? So I think that, I don't know if this has already happened across the board, but as the dust sinks, I think everybody would realize that this stands no chance.
So we're going to have a clash with the United States, because there's going to be an increasing pressure from America for two-state solution, and increasing resistance from Israel.
You already saw the beginnings of it, because across the board, I mean, except for the radical left, everybody said no to Blinken about the humanitarian pause. Everybody. This includes of course, the religious Zionists, the radical right, the Likud, Benny Gantz, the Machaneh Mamlachti. What do you call them in English?
I don't know. What would you call that? The statist camp.
There's no good. There's no good for the.
There's no English translation for Mamlachti.
Yeah, Mamlachti. And it's a tragedy. Ask Ben Gurion on your wall there, because that was his central view. And our friend Professor Avi Bareli likes to translate it as Republican with a small r. So, but they're portraying what Benny Gantz is really trying to say is that he's the responsible adult. This is Mamlachti. So Benny Gantz was to the supposedly in the center or to the left of Likud, and then there is Yair Lapid and Yesh Atid. There is a future party. All of them said no to Blinken. One voice. So
Yair Lapid too. I didn't see that.
Yeah. Everyone across the board. The left. I don't know what happened with Meretz. Meretz is not in the parliament right now. They didn't pass the threshold, and Merav Michaeli at the head of Labor. I don't think anybody is consulting her on that, but there was a clear no. And what I'm going to show you now is a video prepared by an NGO about the Palestinian Authority. According to the Oslo Accords, they should have 30,000 policemen, but they have made these into an army. So this is footage of their training with the kind assistance of our friend Elizabeth Rimini. We now have it special for Israel Update with English subtitles. Let's take a look.
So this doesn't look like run-of-the-mill police work they're training for. And
It's what the message is that whatever happened in Gaza can happen on a grand scale to Tel Aviv. Because remember, between in the narrowest point, Judea and Samaria are 9 miles from the beach. Israel's waist is that thin. And if they got for 30 miles out of Gaza, these people have armored vehicles, they have RPGs, they have sophisticated equipment and weapon, and they're trained like an army. So what if they plan to do the same thing? They can reach Tel Aviv in 10 minutes if they do it not in traffic hours. True, if they do it in traffic hours, they'll never get here. We're safe during these hours, but there is an army right at our door, and these people just applauded the Hamas massacre. The Palestinian Authority showed off that some of its own fighters took part in the terrorist massacre in Gaza. So Gaza has become now their example of success. So Anthony Blinken and the Democratic administration need to take into account the fact that Israel will not commit suicide so easily and let these people rule themselves.
The thing is, nobody has, and I certainly don't have, nobody has a simple answer about what to do about this, because it's similar to the dilemma of Gaza. Israel can't rule over those people, but it also can't allow a full-blown state next to it. So we're in this no man's land. Jordan is not going to take it over. Just like Egypt doesn't want to take over Gaza, Jordan doesn't want to take over the West Bank. That would be the most logical thing. But I don't know. I have no answer, but I think we're set for a lot of friction over this issue, because clearly Israel coming out of this war is not going to be the Israel that we knew.
Absolutely. How about Nasrallah's speech? What was your impression?
My impression is that Iran and Nasrallah, Hezbollah, they blinked. They sent a very clear message to the world that if Israel went in on the ground, they were going to escalate significantly. Everyone or a lot of people expected, including myself. I didn't expect, but I was watching closely, feared that there was going to be a major escalation on the northern border. Clearly, Nasrallah didn't want to do that, and he started coming under pressure, and he announced that he was going to give a speech to buy a few days. Then we all anticipated the speech, and then in the speech, he told the Palestinians, the Gazans, you have to be patient, you have to wait. One day victory will be yours, but no time soon.
Could that be a ploy? Could he be trying to numb Israel into confidence and then surprise us?
I don't think so. You have to. The Israelis have to be vigilant. Of course, they are. They're mobilized in the north. They're ready if it does escalate. But I think all indications are that Hezbollah was not prepared for this, and I think that they were surprised by a couple of things. One was they were probably surprised by the attack. I'm one of those who thinks that from the American point of view, the strategically significant fact about the attack is that Iran is the strategic enabler. But I don't know that Iran and Hezbollah were actually involved in planning the exact timing of of October 7th. They were probably surprised by the success from Hamas's point of view, sort of catastrophic success. Hamas probably did not expect to kill as many Israelis as it did, and to have as huge a response from Israel as it did. Hezbollah didn't expect that, and they didn't expect the American response either. So the American force buildup in the region, I think, has probably deterred the Iranians and Hezbollah to a certain extent. So I'm not expecting them to go to a full-blown war. Israel will unleash holy hell on them if they do, and they know that.
And what's going on in the Iranian arena itself? We can't let a program go by without at least a few remarks on that. The Iranians are still harassing the United States in the Gulf.
They're carrying out direct attacks on the Americans, and they have threatened just today. They threatened that if there's not a humanitarian pause, things will get worse for the Americans. So they are trying to establish a bilateral negotiation with the Americans about stability in the region. They probably have behind closed doors. We don't know that for a fact, but that's what I think is probably going on. My biggest concern when I see the president and the Secretary of State pushing the Israelis for a humanitarian pause is that they are actually negotiating. Washington is negotiating with the Iranians about this situation in Gaza over the heads of the Israelis. I don't know that that's happening, but I'm watching it closely because they're certainly capable of doing that.
Which can't be good news. Dr. Iddo Netanyahu is a physician and a successful playwright, and also Benjamin Netanyahu's brother. He will be with us in just a moment. Hello, Dr. Iddo Netanyahu. Welcome to our show.
Hello. Thanks. Glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
I've just read an essay on Tablet that said that Israel's society has changed, although the writer didn't say in what way. Do you too feel that there is a fundamental change in Israel?
There is a change. I think there is a change. I think you're seeing it. You read the letters of soldiers who the last letter they wrote their parents that before they died, they went off to the war, and they say, "Don't worry about me, but I'm doing this. This has to be done for the survival of the country." And this is one person after another talking about Israel, and then we need to fight for Israel. And this is a stark contrast to what I've been seeing and what all of us have been seeing, I think, for the past 10, 15 years. The post-Zionist attitude, to such a degree that I recall I would go to this commemoration of an officer who fell in the war in Lebanon, the last war in Lebanon. And what you hear in this commemoration, and not the only one, is when they eulogize the officer, they talk about what he missed, what he could have been, how painful it is for them. They don't mention even once what he died for.
Yeah,
they did not mention what he died for. They didn't say that we're proud of him that he died fighting for Israel, fighting for the country, fighting for the land. And this is the kind of attitude you would see in certain circles. And of course, it distressed me a great deal. I didn't say anything out of respect, of course. I just would stand there, my wife and I. But this kind of it was a prevailing attitude among many, many Israelis. And it had to do with, of course, with the post-Zionism attitude, chic, or whatever you want to call it, post-Zionism, anti-Zionism, whatever it was. And then all of a sudden, this is as if it's been turned back. That's what it seems to me, as if it's been turned back. All of a sudden, the idea of nationhood, the idea of a Jewish state is sort of gushing out. It means that the whole attitude or this ideology was only surface deep. It was a veneer. I don't think it went far deeper than that. And also, look, all these people that were declaring that they will not serve a single day, they will not go and do their military duty before erupts and all that. Not that I took them seriously, but because they
in the controversy over the reform, you mean, when they
over the reform,
said,
over the last year. Of course, they all came and they all joined the army. It doesn't mean they don't have they don't believe in the same things they believed before, but I would say the element of nationhood is just too strong and cannot be crushed, and has not been able to be crushed in the Jewish people for 3,000 years. I don't think post-Zionism or what we had here would have been able to crush it.
Those people, sorry, Gadi, those people that were pushing for the reform were also trying to mobilize support from outside and one of the ways they were doing it was by depicting the government as racist and extremist and so on. Do you think that in their minds, the Kaplan crowd today, there's any regret about that when they see now how their own words are being thrown back at them?
They're not seeing it because I don't think nobody is talking about it anymore, and hardly anybody is referring back to all these events at the Kaplan Force and all these people. I don't know exactly.
I meant that the outside world very quickly went from sympathy for Israel to saying Israel's racist, and
I see what you mean.
Yeah. Is there any regret about having fueled some of the hatred toward Israel?
I don't know. Unlike you, they haven't started talking to me again, so I don't really know what they think. So who knows? Maybe Gadi knows better than me. I'm still persona non grata in their eyes.
All of us are. Well, maybe that's an exaggeration because there a lot of people are now speaking about unity. A lot of the people who are on the radical left, the Brothers in Arms crowd, are now volunteering to help the soldiers. People are hugging.
Well, they have a lot of money,
Haredim.
so they got to do something with all the money they raise. What can you do?
They do have a lot of money, but then yesterday night there was a demonstration outside the Prime Minister's home, and I don't know if it's just my wishful thinking, but they suddenly looked like a small crowd of crackpots. Is that wishful thinking?
No, they are. I think the extremists right now are demonstrating are a bunch of crackpots, and I think they'll stay that way. Will they be able to revive the sort of the chasm that existed in Israel before, which is what they want to do? To that extent, I have no idea. But I'll tell you, I think there is a change. When I remember maybe a week ago or something, or 2 weeks ago, or when this whole thing erupted, actually it was 4 weeks ago, I found this article that I'd written before we abandoned the Gaza Strip. I wrote an article explaining why I'm against it. And in the article, I said that those who will rule the Gaza Strip will be murderers of the worst kind that humanity has ever known. And I explained why it'll be a terror state, basically predicting more or less the things that evolved ever since then. And this was 19 years ago. My wife, unbeknownst to me, read it to a person who does talk to us, who's on the left, one of the few remaining friends we still had over the course of the last year. And she told her, and she's a very prominent and known person, she said, I do not know how I could have been that blind. I just don't understand it. That is, she changed obviously her mind. It's very difficult not to change your mind about what the Palestinians want. And I think that's another thing that if you can be, say, what's good, the beneficial things that happened, in this tragedy, is that I think the two-state solution, to me, it's a two-state nightmare or horror show. I think that thing is over in the Israeli public. I think America will keep on pressuring us. I think the Europeans will pressure us, the whole world will pressure us, but I do not see any Israeli government or any Israeli coalition that will agree to it. Because Rabin was mistaken about the Oslo Accords. We all know that, okay? It was political stupidity. It was, whatever you say, Peres and Rabin. It was craziness. In my eyes, always was craziness. But they believed in it. They thought this was a solution of some sort, and let's try it. Who will believe this possibility now? Who would want to give them Judea and Samaria to these people for them to be able to set up what Hamas did in Gaza? No person in his right mind would be willing to do that. And were he deciding to do that or succumb to American pressure, simply the public would not let him do it. So I think that fear, to me, it was always a great fear, that two-state solution and giving them control over the West Bank, over the hills, over this area that lies at the heart of Israel, to me was always a great fear. I think that is something that will not happen, hopefully not in my lifetime. Hopefully not also after my lifetime.
I'll join you with that. Iddo Netanyahu, thank you very much for speaking with us.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Well, Gadi, Iddo Netanyahu has a really calming presence. I could listen to him for a long time. But we got to cut it short here. No,
I
sorry.
did. I just wanted to say I did a whole hour with him, but it's in Hebrew, so I can't share it with our audience. So that's all from us for
That's all.
today.
Thanks for joining. We'll see you next week.
No, this week, Mike, we still
Oh.
have another show this week. Yeah, we'll see
Yeah.
you Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah,
Thanks for
you
watching.
see, but in America, the week begins on Monday.
So it's next. Oh, that's rude. Oh, no, I see. We'll see you this
Well-
week then.
We'll see you Wednesday, this next week.
Shalom.
Bye.